Hey everyone, welcome to another Uncanny JMen discusses a Marvel an MCU TV show. So we want to do this every week. This week we're actually going to be doing episodes 1 and 2 of She-Hulk, uh, Attorney at Law. We're doing the first two episodes. From now on, we are going to be doing one discussion video per episode, but we're putting both of them together this time. And to be honest, quick episodes. 30 minutes feels like nothing when we're used to an hour-long shows.
Yeah, time flew by in these episodes.
Well, let's dive right in. So because we're talking about both episodes, let's start with episode 1. What did you think right off the start there?
So I didn't know what to expect from this going into it. I didn't know if this was going to be a law show or a superhero show, because I feel like those are two very different things. And honestly, even through two episodes, I'm not 100% sure I know what this show is going to be. But the first episode definitely felt more like a superhero show, giving
Agreed.
us the background. I find Law to be fascinating. So I was kind of excited to see how they were going to play Law into the MCU in this version. We got a little bit of it in episode 2, but not much in episode 1. But it was still interesting to see a new hero getting her powers.
Yeah, and what I found very interesting right at the start was it was a minute, 2 minutes into the show, and she breaks the fourth wall. And
Yeah.
immediately says a comment that only the audience can hear and not the people in the show with her.
Mhm.
Um, that's a fast setting precedent within the show to
Certainly.
say she's going to be doing this, get used to it.
Yeah.
What'd you think of that?
So I was expecting that to kind of come on as almost a power of the She-Hulk. So I was expecting that when she was She-Hulk, she'd be breaking the fourth wall. When she was normal Jennifer Walters, she would not. That was definitely not the case. Both of them broke the fourth wall at different times. And yeah, the first time we saw it, it was Jennifer Walters. I have no problem with it. It's a storytelling device that they have not used very often in the MCU, but it does establish, okay, she is the narrator. This is her point of view.
Mm-hmm.
We are literally an audience. Instead of like a completely separate entity viewing this thing, we are an audience to her storytelling. And so it kind of fits. I know that's the way that She-Hulk kind of was in the comics. It kind
Yeah.
of fits with a law type show because a lot of legal courtroom dramas, it's the lawyer describing to you what's happening.
Yes.
So if it's ever going to happen, this really does make sense to be the location.
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
kind of enjoying it.
yeah, that's the thing is like from the comics, she breaks the fourth wall in a certain series. They kind of started that out earlier on with her and everything. So it's not unexpected. And especially the longer the MCU goes, the closer and closer they like to be in source material because they know they can now get away with it. Before they would say, this is for comic book people and not for the general audience. So they would stay away from some more comic booky things. But more and more we're seeing like comic accurate costumes and comic accurate powers or looks. And of course they do change things here and there. That's bound to happen. Update, change, whatever it may be. But that fourth wall break, the only thing I'll say about it is sometimes I'm not realizing she's breaking the fourth wall
Yes.
until I realize she's breaking the fourth wall. There
Yeah.
are times where she doesn't turn far enough away from the person she was just talking to for me to realize that's the case until the person doesn't react to what she said. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
100% agree. When she was walking behind her new boss in episode 2,
Yeah.
and she wasn't like they were talking to each other without looking at each other. And then she starts talking once again without looking at him. And yeah, it definitely took me a moment to realize, oh wait, she's talking to us now because she was like complaining about things like this is so unfair, and I'm like, he is not reacting at all to her saying these things like very outright. And then it's like, oh wait, okay, this is us, not him, which makes a
Yeah.
lot more sense.
Definitely.
Most of the time though, it was complete turn over the shoulder, and it was very obvious. Um,
Yeah. And like it's not So one thing to keep in mind is it's not a fourth wall break where people know that she's fourth wall breaking. It's it's not like a Deadpool moment or something where like he talks to an audience and someone's like, "Who are you talking to?" No one knows in world that she's doing this.
With one potential exception. When she's talking with Bruce and he says, "If you want to go back to your life, I respect you," and she turns and says, "He doesn't mean that." He reacts to her saying that.
I didn't
She
notice that.
Yeah, she turns around over her shoulder and says, "He didn't mean that." She turns back and then she looks back at the camera like, "Wait a minute," and he turns back and looks at her like, "What just happened? What did you just say?" So they kind of both reacted with some surprise to her saying that line.
That was a weird.
It was. The rest of the time, it seems like everyone's oblivious. So I'll be curious if they ever give any explanation to that or just leave it up to our imaginations as to how exactly that works. It could be something with being a Hulk. I don't know. Something with having powers. Do you have some sense there? I don't know. But yeah, that was interesting. That one time that he seemed to hear her say something.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Now, talking about conversations with the Hulk and everything, that first episode with her like kind of learning the extent of her powers, what I love about it, and maybe this may not be something that other people love, but with the whole like, here's the binder of how to manage your rage so that the other creature that's inside of you doesn't get out. And she's like, I don't have another creature. It's interesting from like, so Bruce Banner's a scientist. He has one data point. He
Yeah.
should know as a scientist, one data point's not enough to really know what's going to happen when you have more data points. It's like rolling a die, you get a 6 and you're like, well, every time it must have been it must be a 6 now because you
Yeah.
don't have any other rolls to know that you can have 1 through 6. And so like it was interesting that that's kind of how that went, where it's like, you're only one data point, but also you're afraid. And that's the biggest thing is he's afraid that someone else can get his powers.
Yeah.
Um, but also that means secondary power, if he just bleeds on people, they die. Because they get gamma
Yep.
radiation poisoning. It's just because she has the same genetic thing as him that she doesn't die.
Yeah.
Um, I guess he doesn't bleed often, so that's good.
He doesn't. He only bled. Yeah, typically, if he's going to bleed, he transforms into the Hulk and prevents that damage that would cause it. But yes, just
Well,
his little hand thing.
I guess I'm now realizing that that's the Incredible Hulk movie's intro is the blood, his blood getting in and giving people gamma radiation poisoning, and that's how they find him. And that so the MCU just does a really good job of making everything go full circle. They explain why the Hulk's healed, why he was in a human form, like all these things they're giving explanation for.
Yeah,
They don't have to. They could just never explain those things, but they are. So I'm loving that. They're really giving a lot more lore because they have more time to do that within a TV show.
yeah, yeah. And this show in particular is really diving deep. I mean, the Incredible Hulk was one. It was like the second
Yeah.
MCU movie. It was before there was an MCU. They made this movie, and like they're diving all the way back to that for this material,
Bringing
and they're
Emil
hitting on
Blonsky
things
in.
along the way. Yeah.
I mean, we know from the trailers that Abomination was going to be in it, but bringing that actor all the like he hasn't done anything with the MCU since that. I mean, he was in Shang-Chi for a little bit, but not the actor. Abomination was, and so being able to get that same actor again, MCU they have got the pull. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Now, what do you think of the little bit that they like why they crashed? Why Jen and Bruce crashed and caused her to get some of his blood.
yeah. That was definitely unexpected. Um, I didn't have any expectations as to why the car was going to crash, but I definitely didn't think it was going to be a Sicarian spaceship popping up out of nowhere and forcing them off the road, essentially because it did not give enough clearance for that car to get under it. That definitely was not what I was expecting, and I definitely don't think we're done with it. I mean, we saw Bruce
Yeah.
in the second episode flying in that ship off into space. Is he flying off to meet the Hulk's son? Maybe. And referencing back to the comics a little bit there with World War Hulk, where Hulk has a family on this other planet. Well, they kind of alluded to World War Hulk was a lot of material from Thor
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok came in there, but he never that we know of had a family. Maybe he did. Maybe Hulk had something that he didn't know about, and Bruce is now having to go deal with that. I think that'd be a very interesting kind of side quest that they allude to here. But yeah, it was definitely unexpected, and a side point that I was not anticipating.
Yeah, I feel like we're probably not going to see the Hulk for the rest of the show. Maybe in like an after credits, but I feel like that may not be likely. I think this is going to be it for the Hulk, and the next thing we hear about the Hulk is either an announced Hulk movie or something else where the Sicarian ship crashes and a different Hulk Scar comes out. Um we'll see. I don't think Hulk is going to be in it for the rest of it though. I think they're done with his part of it. We're going to move forward with She-Hulk from now on.
Could be, but we're definitely not done with Hulk
No.
in that storyline that they started. Whether it possibly begin in this show or somewhere else, yeah, it definitely is setting things up.
It may take a decade. You never know. It feels like sometimes there's a decade between end credit scenes like Adam Warlock's Egg and when we're actually going to see him. But the MCU does tend to deliver eventually on whatever they set up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I've got my Captain America shirt on. There seems to be a lot of Captain America discussions throughout these, including the background of her phone in episode 2 being America's butt. It was Captain America's butt on that. So it seems like Jen's a little obsessed with Captain America.
Yeah.
We can leave it like that.
Yeah.
But it definitely seems to be a recurring thing for Jen is her obsession with Captain America.
Yeah. It was definitely an interesting take for them to decide to add. We can leave it at that. Yeah.
Now, what do you think about the villain of the show? Is that the villain of the show?
I definitely don't think she's going to be the big villain. I think the big villain is going to end up being her new boss.
Hmm.
They did a lot to establish his lack of morals already in the first 2 episodes. The first episode, kind of the way he was going about his closing argument of my client has the right to protect his property. Did he know that innocent lives would be in danger and innocent people would die? That's debatable. And I'm like, well, you're not even claiming that this guy didn't know. You're just saying we can't definitively say that he knew. And then in the second episode, when Jen's waiting to talk to him, he's telling the secretary, okay, go ahead and fire so and so. And this other guy hates the cold, so let's send him to Minnesota or wherever. Like he's named someplace that was cold, and it's like he's trying to figure out how to torture people the best from his own company. So like, just these subtle little things of okay, I don't think we're supposed to be rooting for this guy, but that's all happening in the background when we're supposed to be focusing on Jen. So I think he's going to be a little more of a villain later on. I think Jen's going to end up having to turn against him to be the hero she needs to be. But I think Titania is going to kind of be more of a ancillary piece that she's just going to be a nuisance that's going to pop up.
Yeah, I mean, Marvel likes to do the mirrored powers for their first villain for most characters. They still do it to new characters. It's a trope that they continue to do.
Yeah.
Titania is powerful. She's strong. So it is a good mirror for like the first villain to face. But they set her up as a influencer, a superpowered influencer. So they still called her a villain in the news, but she could be like Jen may eventually have to defend her in court. She may have to fight her again. Like
Mhm.
Titania may be upset at Jen for catching her. Um, Not really sure. I feel like we're going to see her more just because uh, the actress who plays Titania is a known actress. It'd be weird
Yeah,
to just be kind of a very small part.
and she was a
Uh,
big part of the publicity leading up to the show too.
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it'd be shocking if she was just there for that one scene and then done. I liked the news article talking about her too. Like the little details in the show are fun. That in the news when they were talking about it, they had on the bottom like an update from Titania's lawyer that this was all a misunderstanding caused by low blood sugar or something like that. And I'm like, okay, I guess it's a legal statement. Sure. It is possible that Titania, because this is a law show, she could sue Jennifer Walters for assault.
Mhm.
I mean, there'd be some
Yeah.
debate there on how that suit would go. But yeah, I'll be curious to see how she ends up playing into this whole situation again. But I don't think it's going to be as the big bad. She just doesn't seem to have the personality in the show to be the big bad.
Yeah, we haven't seen her much, so there's
Right.
still an opportunity to show more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but Marvel usually doesn't like to do one singular bad guy either.
Right.
It's gonna be a couple. So we had previously, like some in Miss Marvel, there was the Nor, the
Yeah.
Jinn,
Yeah.
but then it was also the government, and the
Yeah.
government was the real big bad, and the Jinn were kind of the big bad. So I could see it going the same way here. I could see Emil Blonsky becoming a bad, but I don't think he's going to. I think he's really just this is his redemption.
Yeah. Yeah.
You never know.
No. It'll be fun though. I look forward to seeing how she decides to lay out a case for
Yeah.
Blonsky. I mean, it was honestly that was probably my favorite part of the first two episodes is when she's just talking to him because he's just laying out his story and she's clearly just trying to pick out the details that she can use. Oh, so the government gave you a serum and that caused your subsequent actions. Interesting. And it's like, yeah, that's a great thing to bring up in court. That he was acting out of control due to the situation he was in. Should he even be locked up in the first place? That's questionable.
Yeah.
So the
It's a very good
case that
point.
you can lay out, it was already starting to come together, and I loved that. Just watching that discussion. Now it unraveled when it was revealed that he had broken out. But we'll see. We'll see the direction that goes.
I mean, that's how they're probably going to bring Wong in because they like to put Wong in everything. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. The Wong cinematic universe is
he'll
kind of
be
more.
called to the stand probably.
Yeah,
I can picture that being a funny like call Wong to the stand, then a circle just opens up next to the stand. He walks out and sits down.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I can see that happening.
yeah. That'd be great. That's kind of the thing I wanted. One thing that I was kind of hoping from this show, which I don't think we're going to get, but we might get some of. I was hoping this show would be a little more of like a bunch of cases. So I was hoping that we'd have maybe at the end of the first episode, we'd have what case she has to face now, and then the next episode, the majority of that is her developing a plan, fighting this case, and winning this case, and then she gets the next case. So I was kind of hoping for it to be a little more like legal dramas where each episode's a case.
Yeah.
So we'd have a lot more material to kind of see her work through. That doesn't really work so well when it's only half an hour and you're trying to make it a superhero show too.
Yeah.
Just too much for half an hour. So I do see that. I think if it looks like it's going to be Emil Blonsky's case is going to be the entirety of this season. Maybe at the end of the season they'll reveal her next case. I don't know. But yeah, as long as they have the superhero impact of her trying to work through this case, I'll be curious to see how this unravels.
Yeah. I feel like, and this comes up in episode 2 with her family, but she doesn't want to be a superhero.
Mhm.
She wants to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
So this season is probably going to be around her realizing that she can do more good as a superhero than as a lawyer. Um, and so in order for that to happen, I feel like she's gonna only, yeah, if it's just Emil Blonsky's case or it's that and a few other small ones, we're not gonna see much about the case. We're really gonna be seeing more of how she has to use the She-Hulk side of her to get things done,
Mhm.
and how that means more, that she's able to actually help people more. Or for instance, there may be cases that she just starts losing, and so she realizes that the only way to help them, even though they should have won, it's a breakdown of the legal system, that like she finds out her boss is paying off people, or something where it's like some way for her to get disenfranchised with like the law or something. I don't know if that would be how it goes, but like some way to prove that superhero is better than just lawyer. She can do both,
Interesting.
but she really has to, like, they have to prove that she's going to be a superhero.
So I do think that they're going to lead to her better embracing the superhero role, but I don't think it'll be at the expense of being a lawyer.
I don't think it'll be at the expense of being a lawyer, but I think that's it's necessary for her to question some of law in order for her to embrace vigilantism.
Hmm. Interesting. I don't know. I'm expecting her to be. I'm expecting this to kind of be the foil to, with great power comes great responsibility. Spider-Man is a superhero because he feels like he has the powers, so he has to be a superhero.
Mm.
Jen Walters disagrees. She has the powers, but her passion is not being a superhero. Her passion is helping people with the great power that she has developed through practicing law. So my expectation is that it will be that she will continue to do that, but find a way to embrace the She-Hulk and work in communication. That she can be a superhero and be a lawyer, and that she can kind of fit both of those into her lifestyle.
I don't know how they're going to develop all of this in just 4 more episodes.
Yeah,
4 half-hour episodes.
yeah. This is a short season.
This feels
Runtime wise, very short.
very short. It, I'm not sure there's enough time to do everything. I don't know how they're going to do it. So,
Yeah.
and what else did you want to make sure we talked about in this discussion?
So one thing I do want to bring up, there's they made a big deal out of so Bruce, and this is you talked a little bit about this earlier, but I kind of want to loop back a little bit.
Yeah.
Bruce had the Hulk persona that he had to fight against. And the appearance now is that Jen has complete control. I am suspicious of that. And the reason being, the first two times that she transformed, she blacked out. From her point of view, she blacked out. So she transformed into the Hulk, or the She-Hulk, I guess, um, into a Hulk. We'll say that because I don't know. I don't want to call her the She-Hulk until she embraces the title of the She-Hulk. So into a Hulk, she blacks out from her point of view and our point of view, and then she wakes up somewhere else. So clearly, she was transported somewhere probably by herself. The Hulk, her in Hulk form, moved to a new location. So who was in control for those first two blackouts if there isn't another personality? I'm wondering if it's just maybe not as strong of a personality. We have the idea of fight or flight, and Bruce's Hulk is very much a fight. So I'm wondering if Jen's Hulk, maybe she does have another personality, but it's just so different than the one Bruce has, and it's more of a flight. And so it's just letting her take control, a less dominant personality. I'm not sure. But the fact that she blacked out the first two times does make me suspicious of the idea that there is not another personality in there.
See, I was taking it more of kind of like sleepwalking, where you may have unconscious movement, and you wake up in a new place. Doesn't necessarily mean that I wasn't me while I was sleepwalking. Um, And what I was going to say is one thing that I think could have been a passive or more of a theory for it. I know they say that she processes gamma better than he does, even more so, and that may be the explanation for it. But he's wearing a device that makes it so that he stays in human form and that gets destroyed and bleeds on her. So could that inhibitor device with his blood together have caused it to kind of inhibit that
Hmm.
further hulking out personality? Um,
Interesting.
I know the whole thing is more of like control her anger because she experiences a lot more anger than he does, but also know from some of the comics and stuff that like his past is filled with trauma too, and so it's very possible that he really has like a dissociative identity disorder similar to like Moon Knight. But his is only triggered because he has the Hulk. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been there. And so his is really he was always two people within his one brain. Just now another one gets out, whereas Jen never was two people. So there wasn't actually any trauma that caused a split that the Hulk can take over or has other personality.
Yeah, could be. So we'll see if they address that anymore. I don't know that they will. I feel like they've kind of moved on from that. Like this is the way she is.
Yeah.
Um, we'll see. We'll see if any clues pop
And
up.
I think they also established that she does have more control, um, both physically and transform into the Hulk more control.
Yeah,
Because she's more balanced with than the Hulk was, where he's like, "Hey, I gotta learn how to balance and stuff." But the Hulk definitely proved that he is still stronger. The
yeah,
fight between them is obviously like siblings fighting. They're not trying to kill each other, so like it's really just fighting, not like sibling fighting, cousin fighting, not villain and hero fighting. And that's probably why it was a lot more even. Like Hulk didn't want to kill Jen.
all
Jen
right.
didn't want to kill Hulk. So um but it did show that she does have a lot more balance than he does. But he threw a boulder into space, so I think he proved that he's very strong.
Yeah, yeah. This the little rivalry that they had, the competitive drive, and it's like okay, he needed to show her up to gain a little confidence back. But yeah, yeah. One other item that I don't have a lot of information on, but any thoughts on Emil Blonsky's seven pen pals?
I think it's just a joke they're making, kind of making fun of the prison pen pal system, and I don't think that's gonna matter for anything.
Yeah. Like I did think, okay, we do know that they're working on the Thunderbolts. So it could be there. The thing is though, if they're the, I don't think all the Thunderbolts are coming from the prison system. Some of the
Well,
people that they've most of the people they've established are not currently in prison.
well, that's the thing. The prison pen pal system is for inmates to communicate with people outside.
Oh, is it?
So
Okay.
yeah, so typically that pen pal system is people who want to show the human side, of the compassionate side of what it's like outside of prisons. They have a pen pal system to talk to inmates. So it would be him talking to, I assume, seven women outside of prison that may not even know about each other. It's possible when they go to court, there'll be a scene of him walking past seven different people that are all like, "I love
Yeah.
you," and like, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Um,
His seven soulmates, as he
yeah, but it does bring up a good point, or you do bring up a good point that Thunderbolts typically has like Red Hulk in it. It's very
Yeah.
easy to just swap that for Abomination
Yeah.
to make it MCU, where Thunderbolt Ross probably not going to be recast to be a younger Red Hulk possible person. So Abomination is an easy fit in for
Right.
that team instead.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see. We'll see if that was just a joke line or if it is alluding to something.
So we are getting to the point where we need to wrap up here, but let's get some thoughts. First two episodes of She-Hulk. What are your feelings?
So I feel like Disney Plus or Marvel has been doing a fantastic job with these shows. Loki, Miss Marvel, WandaVision. These shows have been fantastic. And I feel like watching these superhero shows, there's been, to me, no gap between the shows and the movies. The quality has been phenomenal. For She Hulk, I, I'm enjoying it, but I still don't quite know what it is. So I love superhero shows, and I really enjoy legal shows. And I feel like this isn't quite either one of those yet. The first episode felt like, okay, here's the obligatory backstory. And so I was like, okay, so this one, it's a superhero show. I guess this is a superhero show. But then the second one, it was starting to get into that legal case, but it was more of her struggles of trying to be a superhero while starting the case. And so it sounded like they were trying to turn it into a legal show, but didn't quite get there yet. So as a superhero show, I feel like there's no villain, there's no, or like, there isn't a big conflict yet. Um, it's really just her figuring out how to be a hero, a superhero in the real world. And the legal side hasn't really taken off yet. So through two episodes, I feel like I'm kind of still waiting for it to start. So I'm enjoying it. It's like, I'm going to watch it every Thursday. I'm going to watch it at least twice. And I'm going to love it. But I'm not quite ready to say if this is as good as the other shows or not, just because I don't quite know what it is yet.
Hmm.
So what do you think?
I'm a lot on the same lines. So 6 30-minute episodes, 3 hours. There are some movies that are just 3 hours long. So right now in my head, um, it feels like I've just watched the first third of a movie. It's very unsatisfying to just watch a first third of a movie if you've never seen the rest of it and just stop and wait. So right now I'm feeling a little unsatisfied with She-Hulk because I feel like nothing's happened. That the first two episodes have really just been set up. I'm not mad at it in any way. I'm still enjoying it, but I really feel like once the whole season is done, I'm probably just gonna sit down and watch all 3 hours in a row to see if it
Yeah.
would have been better as a movie.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's fair.
so we'll see. I don't think it's gonna. I mean, after watching it so far, I would love to see like a procedural crime drama with her as a lawyer, and we get different random heroes, like little heroes we'll never actually see in the MCU. I would love to see that. I don't
Yeah.
think we're gonna get that, but we'll see what happens as we move forward with She-Hulk and what they can do with it. If it feels more like a movie that was just cut up, or if it actually feels like a TV show.
Yeah. All right.
Great. Well, that is our first discussion for She-Hulk as episodes 1 and 2. We'll be back next week to discuss just episode 3. So we'll be back next week and discussing again, and we'll see what else we want to pick out and discuss. And there's a lot more from episodes 1 and 2 that we didn't touch upon. So they might come up in episode 3 discussion as well. Thank you for watching.